Welcome back to my channel, The Historic State. Before we enter the chaotic, terrifying 20 minutes that unfolded on a hostile desert highway, a span of time that proved a clerk's spreadsheet is often a more lethal weapon than a sergeant's gun. Take a second to hit that like button and subscribe right now. Your support is the only engine that keeps these high-stakes stories of quiet, academic brilliance and ultimate professional survival in production. Today, we dive into a scene of disastrous arrogance that instantly turned into a desperate fight for survival. We examine the story of Sergeant Major Rick "Rock" Miller, a man whose entire existence was defined by his raw battlefield experience, his rank, and his brutal belief that intelligence only comes from the tip of a spear. And we look at Specialist Elena "Specs" Rodriguez, a woman he immediately dismissed as a low-ranking, physically soft supply clerk, an insignificant cog in the war machine. Miller, blinded by his toxic authority and his dismissal of logistics, publicly ignored her urgent security warning. NHE was catastrophically, existentially wrong. When the convoy drove directly into a devastating ambush, Elena, the woman he mocked, used her detailed, meticulous knowledge of local supply timings and enemy inventory manifests to accurately predict the enemy's next 3 tactical moves, guiding the pinned-down survivors to safety. Her paperwork became their only lifeline. Our scene is the dusty, sprawling motor pool and supply yard at Forward Operating Base, FOB Ironclad, a key logistical hub in a tense, hostile sector. The morning was hot, tense, and defined by the chaos of a critical resupply convoy being prepped for an urgent run to a forward outpost. Sergeant Major Rick Miller was the convoy commander, a man whose skin was as hard as his name. He was a veteran of countless engagements and held a deep, unshakable contempt for anything he considered desk duty or paperwork. His authority was raw, loud, and entirely physical. NTHE point of contention this morning was Specialist Elena Rodriguez. Elena was the lead logistics and inventory clerk. She was small, quiet, and absolutely meticulous. Her genius lay not in fighting, but in processing every piece of data that flowed through the base, from fuel consumption rates to ration expiration dates. She saw the war not in gun battles, but in patterns and numbers. And Elena approached Sergeant Major Miller, who was loudly directing the loading of the lead truck with a clipboard in hand. Her face was set with professional urgency, spoke clearly over the engine noise. "Sergeant Major, I have a critical concern regarding the planned route, specifically the intersection at Grid Delta 7. My inventory manifests show that the local rebel groups have received 3 specific, high-capacity fuel shipments over the last 72 hours, all sourced through the same black market pipeline. This pipeline historically peaks its delivery exactly 48 hours before a major IED deployment. The timing for an ambush on that specific road is statistically imminent." And Miller stopped and turned, slowly looking Elena up and down, his face a mask of brutal condescension. He ripped the map out of her hand and Miller's voice boomed, intended for the entire motor pool to hear. "Specialist Rodriguez, you know what this is? This is a combat operation, not a spreadsheet audit. You are a supply clerk. I have 50 confirmed kills and 20 years of dirt in my boots. I decide the route, not your colored charts." NHE shoved the map back into her hand. "Your job is to make sure we have enough socks and coffee, not to question my tactical command. You think because you see a number on a cargo list, you know more than my eyes and my instincts? Go back to your warehouse. Stay in the warehouse. Leave the warfighting to the people who understand what it means to pull a trigger." NHI's team laughed nervously. Elena simply met his furious gaze with a look that was polite, yet unnervingly devoid of shame. She spoke one final quiet warning. "Sergeant Major, ignoring logistics is not tactical. It's reckless. Please review the satellite images of the Wadi choke point at Delta 7." And Miller roared, "Get out! I said, get back to the warehouse." Elena obeyed instantly, walking back toward the supply hut. She maintained her composure, but her mind was already running defensive scenarios. She knew Miller's contempt for her paperwork would cost lives. She went straight to the dusty, secondary radio terminal in the back of the hut. The convoy rolled out exactly 30 minutes later. The transition from routine movement to absolute chaos was instantaneous and brutal in exactly as Elena had predicted. The convoy was obliterated at the intersection of Grid Delta 7. It was a perfectly executed, devastating L-shaped ambush, starting with a massive command-detonated IED that crippled the lead vehicle, followed by a torrent of heavy machine gun fire from both sides of the wadi, dry riverbed. Sergeant Major Miller's voice, once a roar of command, was now a panicked, broken transmission. Ambush! Ambush! We are pinned down! Heavy fire! We have multiple casualties! We are trapped! The flank is completely exposed, requesting immediate air support. We can't move and THE base scrambled. But the area was a dead zone for immediate air support. The pinned-down survivors had only minutes before the enemy closed in for the execution. The sergeant major and his team were fighting on instinct, but they were blind to the enemy's greater plan. In the command center, the map was a static disaster. No one knew the enemy's next move. It was into this chaos that Elena's calm, measured voice suddenly cut through the secure emergency frequency from the supply HUD. She had bypassed the main base radio to reach the convoy directly. Sergeant Major Miller, this is Specialist Rodriguez. I am on the emergency frequency. Stop firing. Your position is untenable. Miller screamed back into his headset. Rodriguez, what the hell are you doing? Get off the line. This is a combat channel. We need tactical command. Elena's voice was utterly calm. Sergeant Major, listen to me now. Your unit is pinned down by 3 heavy machine guns. That fire is suppressing, not lethal. The lethal phase will be an RPG strike from the East Ridge, but they can't fire yet. Why? Because they are waiting for resupply. NNSHE began to speak in a terrifying, precise logic that paralyzed the fighting men. My manifest data, which you called trash, shows the black market delivered Type 4 Russian RPG 29 rounds this morning. These rounds are heavy, slow-moving, and have a 12-minute consumption cycle. They need a close-range spotter and rapid reload. They are waiting for their reload team to flank your rear. They are coming from the North Wadi because that is where the black market fuel delivery truck, which I tracked through its consumption rate, dumped its cargo. They need fuel for their motorcycles to make the final flank. They will not move until the motorcycles are refueled. Miller, pinned down behind a burning wreck, was frozen. His mind, which operated on instinct, was completely overwhelmed by her cold, mathematical certainty. Elena delivered the final life-saving command based on her logistics knowledge. You have a 3-minute window. The enemy's motorcycle team must cross the dry canal to refuel. That crossing point is the only terrain on the map where you can use your smoke grenades to blind them. Smoke now. Escape east into the canyon immediately. They have no fuel to pursue you past the canyon. Miller, stripped of his own tactical options, blindly followed the supply clerk's plan. He shouted the order, "Smoke! Now! Everybody, east move, NTHE men, deployed the smoke, which perfectly blinded the advancing motorcycle team. The convoy remnants scrambled into the canyon, escaping the kill zone just seconds before the delayed RPG strikes hit their previous position. They were safe. Miller, now huddled in the canyon, spoke into his dead microphone, his voice a humble whisper. Rodriguez, we made it. How did you know about the motorcycle team's fuel and the exact time of the RPG strike? Elena's final reply was transmitted clearly over the secure channel. Sergeant Major, I didn't see the enemy's plan on a satellite. I saw it on their balance sheet. Your enemy's logistics are their greatest weakness. I tracked their entire operation through the manifests and the delivery timings. That is my job. You only believe in what you can physically see. I believe in the pattern and the truth of the inventory. That is why your paperwork saved your life today. NHER quiet brilliance taught the arrogant sergeant major and the entire command an immediate, unforgettable lesson. Never mistake the back office for a low-value position. The soldier who tracks the supply chain often understands the enemy's entire blueprint better than the commander on the ground. NNT thank you for watching the historic state. If this incredible story of digital failure, analog triumph, and the supply clerk who mastered the unseen code of war moved you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us, in a crisis, do you trust field instinct or logistics intelligence? Because here, we know that the greatest strength is not the engine's horsepower, but the unseen, quiet knowledge that survives every storm.